It is now 6:30. I'm going to call this meeting of the Lawndale City Council to order. I'm going to ask the Madam City Clerk to conduct the roll call, Madam.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Suarez.
Here.
Councilmember Kearney.
Here.
Councilmember Hoffman Gorman.
Here.
Councilmember Cuevas.
Here.
Mayor Poland Miles.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Councilwoman Rhonda Hoffman Gorman to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by Pastor Matthew Harbison from Lawndale Wesleyan Church with a word of inspiration.
Place your right hand over your heart and recite along with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather in democratic forum. We thank you that we are able to meet in this building, that there are not terrorists around, that there is not the threat of violence and unrest, but rather we can be here in a civilized manner. We thank you for just this opportunity to meet in this great country, in this great state, in this great county, and in this great city. We ask that we would be able to make intelligent decisions for the benefit of the community. May the members who are here that are in charge be just open and willing to be there for the community, and may the community be able to back up their leaders. May we continue to do things that support one another for the good of Lawndale. And we ask all of these things in the name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Harbison, for those words of inspiration. Let's move the agenda to our public safety report. Let's hear from our captain, Captain Palomino. Yes, ma'am. How are you?
Good, how are you, sir?
Well, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, esteemed members of the City Council, and members of the community. I'm Nicole Palomino, the captain of South Los Angeles Station, and I'm here tonight to present the public safety report for January 16th through February 5th. I will begin by discussing our notable arrests and investigations. On January 19th, at approximately 1 a.m., Deputy Garza conducted a traffic stop regarding several vehicle code violations. During a search of the vehicle, Deputy Garza discovered one of the occupants was in possession of an unregistered firearm. She was arrested for several weapons-related charges and transported to South Los Angeles Station, and the suspect was not a resident of Lawndale. On January 31st, at approximately 2 a.m., Deputy Weaver conducted a traffic stop regarding several vehicle code violations. During a search of the vehicle, Deputy Weaver discovered one of the occupants was in possession of 2 firearms. He was arrested for several weapons-related charges and also transported to South Los Angeles Station, and this suspect was also not a resident of Lawndale. On January 25th, at approximately 4 p.m., deputies responded to the area of 159th Street and Hawthorne Boulevard regarding reports of a victim struck by gunfire. Upon arriving at the scene, they located one male adult who was suffering from a gunshot wound. The victim was transported to the hospital and was listed in stable condition. Operation Safe Street detectives, also known as OSS, along with personnel from the crime lab, responded to the scene and processed for evidence. The OSS detectives assigned to the case are actively following up on several leads. Then on February 2nd, at approximately 9:25 p.m., deputies responded to the 4500 block of Rosecrans Avenue regarding an assault with a deadly weapon in progress call for service. The deputies detained a male adult whom the victims positively identified as the individual who attempted to assault them with a machete. The suspect was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon and transported to South Los Angeles Station. He too was not a resident of Lawndale. Regarding our traffic-related incidents, Motorcycle Traffic Enforcement Deputy Morales issued approximately 25 citations during the reporting period, which included violations such as failing to stop at a stop sign, speeding, and modified exhaust. Deputy Morales also monitored for drivers who violated the traffic light laws on Hawthorne Boulevard, as well as individuals who violated the vehicle code while riding their electric bikes. In addition, approximately 25 traffic collisions were documented during the reporting period. Lastly, the next Coffee with a Cop event will be held on Tuesday, February 27th from 9 to 10 a.m. at the experimentally structured Museum of Art located at 14929 Hawthorne Boulevard in Lawndale. Everyone in the community is invited to attend, and I'm so thrilled to have this unique opportunity where I can engage with residents in such an artistically creative atmosphere. This concludes my report, and I would be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you for that report. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I just have a comment. Captain, I just want to say how totally excited I am at the change in our sheriff's department since you came. You, Lieutenant Salgado, and our sergeant that is always there for us, standing over there in the corner. Incredible. I think we've got the best that LA County has. And I'm very excited of the turnaround and the things that we're seeing in Lawndale. And the fact that none of those suspects live in Lawndale, doesn't that just put the icing on the cake? Personally, I would like to have written up Officer Garza, Weaver, and even Morales for the fine work that they have shown on this report. I think that as a council member, that we need to say that a boys to some of our officers. They hear it from you, their management, but I think that they also need to hear it from us, because that's what's going to get Lawndale turned around from where we were.
Thank you so much for your kind words and for acknowledging their hard work, and we will definitely make sure that they are written up in a positive way for their efforts and everything that they did, and I just look forward to only going up from here.
Me too, and I think that the three of you are exactly who we need at this time, so thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Captain, for the report.
Thank you.
Let's hear from Fire Chief
Mayor, Council,
Valadoria.
the chief he got called away to let me know, and I didn't leave any information, so
Okay.
I'll pass on that one today.
Okay, all right, we'll catch up with them. All right. We're now on oral communications. This is when you have the opportunity to speak to this body on items that are not on the agenda. If you would like to speak on items that are not on the agenda, you may do so at this time. Please line up by the flag. When it becomes your turn, if you would approach the podium, if you would start with your name first, we would appreciate that. At about 2.5 minutes, the amber light will come on to give you the signal to start wrapping things up. Let's have our first speaker. Yes, ma'am.
Dear Mayor Pullen Miles and members of the council, my name is Sandra Suarez. I'm a resident of Lawndale. I'm up here this evening with some concerns on the city's violations to property owners who are being cited by code enforcement regarding fence requirements. From what I understand, this resident had to remove panels from his fence so as not to obscure vehicle traffic. This seems excessive given this intersection has four-way stop signs. Seems to me the city should be more concerned with Hawthorne Boulevard. There are hedges in the median obscuring cars traveling east and west across Hawthorne Boulevard to 149th Street. Maybe cut the hedges shorter more often or put in lower plants so we can see while crossing. This seems more serious. Regarding homeowners, I really think you need to relook at requirements and timeframes. It was also brought up how long permits take to be processed. I have neighbors who have been waiting as well. These are homeowners trying to make their homes look nice, which in turn beautify our city. I think they should be encouraged and not discouraged. And I do understand the part of the health and safety issues, as two of the council members brought up at the last meeting. I'm bringing this to your attention because I would like to see a more positive effort from the city and staff in working with our homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, everyone. John Martinez, 153rd Street. Some of you may know me from planning, but today I'm here as a citizen, as the vice president for Lawndale Little League, just to give you an update on the general stuff that we've been doing over there as a league. So for the last, I would say, 8 years since I've been a part of the league, I began as an umpire, then volunteered as a coach, and I have been doing so for the last 7 years, 8 years as umpire, 7 years as coach, now first year as vice president. And I felt that I should come in here and give you an update. I know some comments are made here and there, and I don't think you guys get the full scope of what we're doing. So just a couple of things. This year we redid the fields. We did the major field, which is corner of Manziel and Marine. That was the biggest project we did this year, along with some minor work to the counter field, which is closer to the gym, which we call the farm field. The big field got a full, I would say, remodel or refinish. We ripped out all the sod, redid all the baseball dirt, put in all new bases, new mound, new pitcher's mound, rubber. I mean, we did a lot of work to that field. And the farm field got fresh dirt, new bases, new mound. We left the grass in because it was going to be a big expense to do that. But all in all, we spent about $22,000 on that, give or take. And some other additions we did was we got a golf cart and we bought implements because these fields have not been maintained the proper way. And so we're taking it on now. We got some training from the vendor that went and did the work, and things were being done wrong. So we bought the golf cart in order to get that work done, because if you guys have ever done any field maintenance, I mean, it is hard work. It's not just going back and forth with a drag, it's going in circles is the proper way, and it's hard work. So we needed the gear, we got it. Good thing we got that. We made some upgrades to the sound system we have there, just to give it that stadium feel. And then some other things we did in the past years were awnings, all new awnings for the spectators, for the big field. We're planning on doing awnings for the smaller field. We replaced a lot of light bulbs. We got a donor, help from a donor, helping us with the lift and workers. And we have planned to add some fencing for safety to the farm field closest to the gym. Once we get the okay from the school district, hopefully. We're going to extend those fences, again, for safety purposes. And, you know, there's numerous things that are here. I can go on, but my time's already run out. And I just want to remind everybody that this is the last week for registrations for Lawndale Little League. So if anybody knows of any players, any kids that want to sign up from 3 to 16, this Saturday will be the last day to register for this spring. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Mayor. My name is Nilo Vega Michelin like the tires. First of all, it's an honor to be here in front of the City Council. Each one of these members, I've seen you all in these local events. I've seen you in outside events. I've seen you at COG meetings. You are involved throughout the South Bay, so thank you for your hard work. I'm on the El Camino Board of Trustees, which includes the El Camino District, includes Lawndale. I'm a proud high school history teacher. I'm also a candidate for State Senate District 35, which includes Lawndale. Last Saturday, I attended a meeting of concerned neighbors. They were concerned about Metro going through the right-of-way. And today, I'm going to be speaking against Metro going through the right-of-way for the following reasons. Number one, environmental justice. We know that if that right-of-way was 1 block to the west on Inglewood Boulevard, or if it went through North Redondo, we wouldn't even have this discussion. There would be funding found for alternative routes, like through Hawthorne Boulevard. that area should be a greenway, just like the Manhattan Beach Railroad became a greenway, just like the Hermosa Beach Railroad became a greenway. It should be a greenway. It should be the Holly Mitchell Greenway or the Harold Hoffman Greenway. It has such potential, and it's even wider than the Manhattan Beach Greenway or the Hermosa Beach Greenway. My second reason is safety. If you go to the Florence Station on the Blue Line, you could see how the Blue Line divided up that neighborhood. You could see how the Blue Line went right through those houses. You could see the pollution and the homelessness and the problems that are caused and how it divided up. And there even been students who have died on that track because of safety issues. You know, go by the right-of-way, go by the schools, walk around the neighborhood. All of you have done that, but the people out there, to see how it would cut through this neighborhood. The third reason is return on investment. If you go to Asia, if you go to Europe, if you go to Washington, D.C., if you go to New York, you'll see that all the railroads and metros go through the big boulevards. Why? Because it's a better return on investment. Those arteries receive more business. Those arteries receive more return on investment, more people. And you don't see these trains going through the houses. I have so much more to tell you about different issues, but unfortunately I'm running out of time. So please go to my website, nilomichelin.com. The election is March 5th. Believe it or not, only 1 month away. The position is State Senate District 35, and the name is Nilo Vega Michelin, Michelin like the tires. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my name is Ann Phillips, and tonight I'm representing the Lawndale Elementary School District. And I just want to give some information about it. First of all, we're a little bit larger than the city of Lawndale because we go further east. We have also El Camino Village and the Bodger Park area. So our district is Rosecrans to Redondo Beach Boulevard and essentially Inglewood to Crenshaw Boulevards. Our current district consists of 8 schools and 1 early childhood education program with approximately 4,700 students. We have 2 middle schools, 6 elementary schools, and the preschool program. We currently serve 9 ethnicities, with the largest populations being Hispanic, Latino, African American, and Asian. We serve children from all over the globe with over 35 languages spoken at home. Some of the events that we've had, we're expanding on our tours of the middle school. We have always had the 5th graders come in and tour the school, but this year we're also including the parents to come to tour the middle schools. So the student tours at Jane Addams Middle School will be in March. The parent tours, unfortunately, have already ended, but you can always make a phone call. At Rogers Middle School, it's the opposite. The elementary schools have already toured Rogers Middle School, and those will be Twain, Roosevelt, and Anderson, by the way. And then the parent orientations are coming up in February. You can go on the website and find the times and the dates for those. We also have the kindergarten and the TK orientations coming up so the parents can start seeing what's going on in those grades. Just a reminder, too, that we have 2 dual immersion programs. One is at Billy Mitchell School and one is at Mark Twain School. So if the parents, they can go to 2 different orientations. They can go to their home school for kindergarten orientation, but if they're interested in dual immersion for their children, they can also go to those school sites and sign up for that. And those are all being conducted in February and March. That's it.
Okay, with that, we will close public comment and bring up to the dais for any comments from the council members. Let's hear from Ms. Cuevas.
Thank you, everybody, for coming and speaking. How could we, or who do we talk to see about the hedges on Hawthorne Boulevard, if they could be cut down for safety or?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll have staff take a look at it. You know, we spent millions of dollars on that landscaping out there, but I'll check to make sure we're not violating any of our clear sight issues out on the Hawthorne Boulevard.
Okay, thank you. Little League, thank you for everything you guys have been doing for our kids. I was involved many years, so I know how hard it is to keep the fields and all that. Mike, do we not have the landscapers do the fields?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. We do on request, they will do stuff. It depends on, the Public Works Department on whether they can fit that into their schedule. I know that we've kind of slowed down on that in the past because the expenses can add up, and we have a budget like everybody else for certain programs. But nominal stuff like maybe screening the field and things like that, they've typically done that for games, the charter high school games or any other types of games we have out there.
Could we see if maybe we could work with Little League whenever they need to trim the hedge, the side of the
Yeah.
bull mount or I can't even remember the name of the mount. But work with them and save them a little bit of money. If we're maintaining those fields, it'll help them out.
Yeah. We work with George a lot. I communicate with George and Johnny once in a while as well. But again, a lot of that stuff will go to the Public Works Director or even Sean. Because like I said, we have a budget for the landscaping and, the cost has got to come somewhere, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Nilo, for coming out, and it was nice seeing you this past weekend. And thank you for the updates. Everything is on the school website? Okay. And it's in both languages, English and Spanish, or? Okay, thank you. That will be all.
Thank you. Madam Hoffman-Gorman. That's great.
She did a really good job at covering everything. Again, I would just like to say thank you to everyone who came out to speak. Johnny, there's not a weekend that I don't drive by that park and am completely aware that you are out there and the work that is going on for Little League. So from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate that and thank you for doing that for the children of Lawndale. And I will make sure that, I'm wondering, do we have a way, Mike, to maybe work with our social media, like maybe Facebook or whoever's the person at Facebook, to put out a blurb that this is the last week for signups for Little League? Are we allowed?
We have council policies on the website, and we could look at that and take a look at to see if that's possible. But remember, I just want to, this is a private organization. I know it's a Lawndale organization, but we have policies on posting other agencies and other entities.
Okay. I think that is a really good thing. Are you working with the schools, I'm sure, so that the parents are getting told that this week is?
The district has done a great job putting it on Parent Square.
Great.
On social media.
Great, glad to hear that. Milo, it was a pleasure seeing you this last weekend. I agree with you, Metro has no business being on the road, but it doesn't have as you heard, I'm opposed to it in either direction. We need to be focused on them using buses as far as I'm concerned. It's been Lawndale's stance for 30 years that we were opposed to Metro all the way around. It needs to continue. But yes, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your involvement in the fight to keep it off of the road. And know that we're David and Goliath here, and we recognize that as well. But you know what? David still won. So that's Lawndale for you. And I absolutely appreciate what you came and gave us for updates for elementary school. I'm encouraged to see that. I hope that we see that more. I think that it just shows better partnership between the school district and us when we can share that type of information. So thank you for taking the time out of your evening and coming and visiting with us. That's all I have.
All right. Let's hear from Mr. Peck, Kearney.
All right, thanks, Robert. I want to thank the two young ladies and the two young men that came out to speak tonight. I know you're younger than I am, so you are young ladies and young men. Johnny, I was involved in Little League back starting in '61, before most of you in this room were born, probably. And I know what you're doing, you and George and the team are doing in those fields. It takes a village to raise a child, the same thing with the ball diamond. And thank you for the updates. I love the TK program at Lucille Smith. It's fantastic, you little kids. And with that, I'll pass it on to you, back to you, Robert.
Madam Pro Tem, that's right.
Good evening. I'd like to thank everybody that came up and spoke. I'll start with, I would like us to look at those city hedges, because if, for any of you that have traveled on them, it is pretty scary, and I have to wait quite a few minutes just to make sure that there's no cars going that way. I also still, as I mentioned at the last meeting, do want to look at the processing times for our permits, and come up with a way where we're making sure we meet those processing times, and even doing better than what we are putting out that we're saying we're going to meet. That way our residents have a pleasant experience and they want to work with us. I do want to say thank you, Johnny, for the Little League. We don't have a lot of organizations in the city that are still functioning, and so I think it's very important that we support an organization such as the Little League that are providing services to our kids. Thank you, Nilo. It was good seeing you this weekend as well. And thank you to our board trustee from the school district, Lawndale School District, for coming and giving those updates. And with that, I'll pass it along.
Thank you. I too want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and those who had the opportunity to speak. Let me just touch on a few of these items as well. I would join, of course, my colleague to the right concerning the fence issue. We spoke about that at the last council meeting, so I would reiterate that as well. Also, the timing of the permits, to make sure those permits are processed in a timely manner. So thank you, Ms. Suarez, for bringing that to our attention. Also, Johnny, I want to thank you for all the work you do at Little League. You and George, you guys put in a lot of time, and it's all for our kids. And I just want to thank you for all you guys do. And those are some remarkable improvements. It's nothing, when you have a field, as you know, that looks nice, it's instill a lot of confidence, in the kids. So it's not just about, just wanting to spend some money or what have you. And it's beyond just making sure that the fields are safe. But when they look nice and they look good, the kids are encouraged, to play. And I want to thank you guys for all the hard work you guys put into that Little League. And you can always partner. We've been partners for a long time, and we'll continue to partner with Little League. So call on us, of course, anytime. Absolutely. And I'll get the information for the last week for the Little League, to sign up for Little League. Nilo, thank you for bringing that to our attention, or espousing your views on the issue, because as we said earlier, we've been at this for a long time, and our views on the issues with Metro is very well documented, and we will continue the fight in that endeavor. And trustees from the school board, Lawndale Elementary School District. You have to specify, because we have two school districts that serve the city of Lawndale, the Lawndale Elementary School District. I want to thank you for all the years you've put in to the school district and to our children. There's one thing you did mention. You mentioned the dual immersion program, and I want to highlight that because my daughter had the opportunity to go through the dual immersion program from kindergarten to the 8th grade. And it was kind of, it was funny because I was actually at one of your school activities when I was talking to one of the parents. And her daughter was, standing next to me. And for some reason, I don't know why, I started speaking in Spanish, right? Because, I practice my Spanish, but for some reason, I started answering her mother in Spanish. And so she started to chime in. She's African-American, by the way. I say that because this is going to make it go around, full circle. And so she started, chiming in Spanish, right? And I asked her, did she speak Spanish? In Spanish, and she was fluent in Spanish. And her mother went on to tell me about the dual immersion program. So this is the third daughter. The two daughters prior to her, I had no idea there was a dual immersion program until the third daughter. By the way, the third daughter was like 3, right? And so I put it on my calendar for 2 years to get her in the dual immersion program, and I actually camped out the night that the enrollment opened And I thought I was going to be the first one there about 2 o'clock in the morning. As you could imagine, I was not the first one in line at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, there were several moms out there already camped out to get their child in the dual immersion program, and it has paid dividends. So I want to thank you guys for, and at that time, you guys only had one in the district, so I want to thank you guys for extending the dual immersion programs to all of our communities so they can get that experience as well. So take advantage of that, parents, and be prepared to camp out, right, to get your kids in. Okay, and with that, let me see, I think there was one other I wanted to mention. That might be all. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that I'll wrap it up right there. I'll land my plane, as they say, right there. All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for their comments. With that, we will move our agenda. We're now on the consent calendar, which is item F. Item 1 through 5 on the consent calendar. What is the pleasure of this body concerning such?
So moved.
Okay, it's been
I'll second
moved
it.
by Pat Kearney that we approve the consent calendar. Hoffman Gorman has seconded. Is there any discussion on the consent calendar? Would the council please vote on the consent calendar?
For the consent calendar, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, madam. Next item, item 6 is a public hearing for consideration for an ordinance concerning accessory dwelling units. Let's have the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Jared from the Community Development Department. This proposed project is to update our existing Title 17 accessory dwelling unit code. So recently in 2023, there was legislation that was approved by the governor, AB 976, that amended our government code section for ADUs and now allows for any ADU to not be required. It's actually not required anymore to have owner occupancy for ADU rentals. So previously we had a sunset date. Well, now it's been removed. So that is the update from AB 976 that the state currently passed. And it became effective January 1st, 2024. Staff recommends that you hold a public hearing and that you determine that this ordinance 120524 is exempt from California Environmental Quality Act, and introduce the first reading by title only of ordinance 1205-24, amending the Lawndale Municipal Code regarding accessory dwelling units to reflect the recent changes in state law and waive further reading. And that concludes my staff report. Staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of the staff before we open up the public hearing? Okay, seeing none, it is now 7:04. The public hearing is now open. Are there any wishing to provide comments during this public hearing? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:04. The public hearing is now closed. Let's bring it up to dais for any discussion on this matter. Any discussion on this matter? Okay, seeing none, I would entertain.
I'll make a recommendation, go to staff recommendation.
Okay, the motion's been made by Kearney that we accept, or adopt the staff recommendation.
I'll second it.
And seconded by Hoffman Gorman. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, would the council please vote?
For item number 6, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
before we move forward, sir, could
I'm
I
sorry,
read that by
Yes,
title
please
so
do.
that we can waive that later?
Absolutely.
He was testing you.
What was just introduced was ordinance number 1205-24, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lawndale, California, amending certain sections in Title 17 zoning of the Lawndale Municipal Code regarding accessory dwelling units and a finding of exemption from CEQA. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Okay, next item, item 7. City Council ad hoc subcommittees and standing committees.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Yvette Hall, Assistant City Clerk. At the last council meeting, you review the list of current council ad hoc subcommittees and standing committees. The Parking and Traffic Solutions Ad hoc Subcommittee was inadvertently left out, so therefore staff is bringing forth this committee for your review. Staff is recommending that the City Council review the Parking and Traffic Solutions Ad hoc Subcommittee and direct staff on whether this committee can be dissolved or remain active, and if any current members should be modified. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that report. Let's have some discussion on this, because I'm not. Yes, sir.
I'm going to recommend we go with it the way it is, because you know we're going to have the bicycle thing coming up on number 11, and we do need to keep that for parking and traffic study, the bicycle ways.
Okay.
I'm in agreement with that.
I'm in
Okay.
I'm in agreement, and I guess this doesn't have to do specifically with this, but did we ever get an update on what transpired at the last meeting and any resolution regarding?
What, the last meeting of this, the parking
For this
and
list?
traffic solution?
Yeah,
Was
the
there a
parking.
last meeting?
We had it,
Was there a
we
last
did,
meeting?
we voted on it with the amendments, with the additions, putting you on, taking Shirley off, taking Rhonda off, putting Shirley on.
No,
I
that's
meant,
not
I meant
what she was
the
referring to.
actual ad hoc committee meeting.
So have the ad hoc committee held a meeting?
No.
We haven't needed one.
Okay, so that's probably why they haven't had a meeting yet.
Okay, I guess I was just confused. The purpose was initially to address the school traffic issue, right?
No, that's under the council, school district.
So what was
maybe
the
I can-
purpose of this ad hoc?
This is for the parking study and traffic study.
But for which, was there a
What-
specific project that was being taken
I
place?
think we brought back the bicycle lane before, we put this together. But then the
Okay.
bicycle, share roads through the spokes, and this is why that committee's still on there. But if we're gonna discuss, like I said, number 11, which is the bicycle lanes, you're gonna need the traffic and parking study.
So when was the last time that this ad hoc committee convened?
I think I'm hearing that they haven't convened yet,
No.
that they haven't
Ever.
convened a
Okay.
meeting yet, yeah.
But Bernadette, I'd like to add, yes, I do believe that it's that time that we should be getting together with the elementary school to go back
Okay,
to the parking issue.
sorry, there was some confusion
So,
in my head
yes.
With which,
Yeah.
because I don't remember this committee coming forward.
Yeah,
Like,
I
for ye-
didn't
It
really.
must have been years and years since.
No,
It was created, but.
It says
Okay.
23rd. Which would've
It
been
probably
last
was
year.
the last time we had talking about bike lanes that they probably
was.
met. And that
Ma-
was prior
Mayor,
to me
council,
being on
thi-
council.
I believe this might be the one that we established with the school district, because it says.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, and we did have two meetings
Okay,
with the
so-
school district, and we did, it's been a year or so, but, and the subcommittee reported out, I just, the details. We didn't get everything resolved with the school district, I know, if this is the same committee.
It's the same one? Oh,
Well, they're the same members as the school,
but technically not the same.
but they're not the same.
Okay.
Well, if it's about if it's ad hoc committee, then it's narrowly focused, so it can't be both the school district and.
It's not the school district, there's
bicycle.
another one
Yeah.
we voted on
Can't be
last week
both.
that had council, school district, other items, which the parking fell under that one.
So this is not related to the
No.
school district? Okay.
Mayor Yvette has something.
I don't believe so.
This ad hoc was created at the special meeting that the city council held with the school district. And
That's what I thought.
Councilmember Kearney and Councilmember Hoffman Gorman were selected to sit on this ad hoc to resolve the parking issues at the school.
The question for you, Yvette, what was the other one for the school district, city council? There's a different one there too. What was
Yes.
that one for?
I'm going to look that one up right now for you.
Okay.
That wasn't the park one?
Yeah, there was a park.
That was a park one?
No, I'm not on the park.
We have a standing
no, it's different,
committee,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is the city and school district standing committee, and that consists of yourself and Councilmember
And what is that
Hoffman.
for?
Just general?
That is a general committee that meets with the school district. I do not believe that you have met with the school districts in a long time, many years. And then we have the city school district park maintenance and joint use ad hoc.
Yes, and
So
that's.
that one is,
Yeah, okay. All right.
And then the parking and traffic
Yeah, yeah.
solution, which is related to school district.
Yes, Mayor, that's correct.
I
And they
just-
have met twice,
Okay.
because I was at both meetings.
Okay. So it sounds like the desire is to keep the
Yes.
parking and traffic solutions. So I think we have consensus that we'll keep those, that committee.
Thank you.
And it says reappointment pending. Is it appropriate on this agenda to reappoint? Okay. So it sounds like it's appropriate at this agenda to reappoint the standing members, the current members back to
I'll
the
just stay on
committee.
it.
I'll
I
stay
will-
on.
Okay. All right. Do you want that in a motion, Mr. Attorney, or should?
No,
unanimous
that's
consent to be
fine.
given?
Totally fine as is. The only question I would have is, would you like, Mr. Mayor, to broaden the scope of the Parking and Traffic Solutions Ad Hoc Subcommittee to go beyond just solutions to school-related parking and traffic issues and to cover, in addition, parking and traffic issues citywide? If you'd like to do that, given what Councilmember Kearney said about the bicycle plan, then I think it would just be appropriate to read that into the record.
I think if we're going to do that, we should do that at a subsequent meeting to have more information on
Yeah, okay,
what
yeah.
would
Yes,
that
sir. That makes
entail.
perfect sense.
Okay, but at this point, let's go ahead and reappoint Rhonda Hoffman Gorman to the board, the Parking and Traffic Solution. And, what's your name again? Mr. Pat
Cuevas.
Kearney, to the board as well.
No, my. Okay.
Okay, then we can
We have to
revisit
vote?
it. And we can do that with unanimous consent, sir? Okay, without any objection? Okay, so moved. Okay. So that was, which agenda item was that? 1 second. Okay, that was item 7. Okay, now we're on item 8. Fireworks update. We have someone who wants to speak on, who's that?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, and
Oh, yeah, we got a speaker.
we're good?
Who is that? Okay,
Me.
yes, sir. I was like, where was that
voice
coming
is
from?
out.
Right.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So we have the fireworks update for 2024, which was the sales that occurred in July of 2023. We had 2 vendors selling fireworks, and as part of, the Lawndale Municipal Code, we're required to audit a minimum of 2 on their financials. Since we only had 2, we reviewed both of their financials. Both organizations have met the qualifications of spending, which is basically 50% of net revenues supposed to be spent on charities, and of that, 25% on youth organizations within the city. So both of them passed that. There's no issues there. However, we do have issues with both organizations. One of them submitted late, past the deadline, and they've been notified of that, so that disqualifies them from applying for next year. And then the other organization, they were in violation of Lawndale Muni Code Chapter 8.12, and therefore their license has been revoked and also not allowed to apply again. And that concludes my report on the fireworks update. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you for that, that update. Let's see. Anybody want to discuss this item?
Is this a public hearing?
No, this is not a public
Okay,
hearing.
so
This is not a
okay.
public hearing.
Do you have a paper?
Yeah, anyone can comment? Any comment? Anyone want to make a comment on the report?
No.
No? Okay. Without any objection, we will,
Do you have a paper from this young man standing there? Do you want to speak on this?
yes, I do. Anyone want to speak on this matter?
Okay. Cuevas, remember, my name, last name's Cuevas.
Your last name is Cuevas.
Good evening. I would like to appeal the staff recommendation of a one-year suspension to the Lawndale Wesleyan Church for selling fireworks in the city of Lawndale. In my zeal to submit the files diligently to the finance department, I wanted to do so digitally so that they could avoid sifting through the tedious process of going through receipts in a packet, comparing them to a handwritten ledger, and then manually scanning them in. In doing so, I missed the deadline. Coupled with an illness and trying to attach files that were too large to some emails, I couldn't get the Part B done on time. In hindsight, had I just grabbed the receipts, printed out some records, rushed off to the city hall, plopped everything down in the folder, and gotten that timestamp, I think everything would have been fine based on being in compliance on the other things. But I believe that the suspension really comes down to the rubber stamp of in on time. My information was both in their inboxes and correct by the time that the finance department was ready to take a look at the information during business hours. When I missed the deadline, I was despondent for the predicament that I had put my church in, and I decided to read over the municipal code from the application packet that I was given at the time of applying. And I was given the hopes, and as I looked at it, I saw a section that gave me hope because it said about not being denied the ability to apply in subsequent years if tardy documents were submitted in a timely manner prior to the time of subsequent years' selections. At first, reading by most of the people that I've shared this with, it appeared that we had a chance to sell. Surely less than a day would be qualified as a timely manner. I asked people to really nitpick at this section. One person said that it is murky, but since both the legal, finance, and the city manager have all signed off on this recommendation, that they must be comfortable in the wording used to back up the staff's recommendation. The tricky part is how to get the average citizen, how they would decipher terms like calendar year, following year, another year, subsequent year, as well as coupling that with some of the other things that are in the municipal code. Perhaps the council can reread the last portion of Municipal Code 812000A and see if they see where I'm talking about being given some hope. My ultimate request is a stay of execution, as it were. If it cannot be done so now, perhaps look into amending the code and offering an organization with a tardy filing a chance to pay a fine or to ride out the suspension. I am prepared to answer any questions, provided additional information or insights that based on my given time, that I am not able to address at this time. Thank you for at least listening.
Thank you, sir. No one else wants to provide comments? Okay. Okay, let's have some discussion on this item. First of all, what is the recommendation? The staff recommends the city council receiving file.
To deny them.
So receiving file would include the denial
Yes.
of the church, okay. Now, how many, am I asking this of the finance department or the municipal service? I'm not sure. He said that the church, Wesleyan Church was disqualified because of they submitted the package late. How late was that? Am I hearing one day?
Yeah, I mean, really just half an hour, really. They just submitted after midnight.
Oh, okay.
That's all it was, yeah.
All right. I don't have any problems adding their, forgiving the lateness of just 30 minutes, one day. That happens. You could be buffering for 30 minutes, depending on what kind of system you use. So I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah, similarly, I don't. As long as the information's correct, 30 minutes, I can. And two, like, if we want to make it clear, I don't mind, like, there being a late fee. I'm amending the code to allow for that.
Yeah, I think it's the spirit of it, because you have people that just, for some reason, not doing their due diligence and decide they're going to get it to us whenever they get around to it. I think that's what we're trying to avoid. So if something, simple mistake is 30 minutes, a couple of hours, or what have you, I don't see that being a problem.
And in light of there not being that many applicants, if it was very, there were a lot of applicants and we were having to decide, that would be a factor. Well, we were only allowed doing this because everybody else got theirs in time, but seeing that there's no other, I'm amenable to being lenient on this.
I just have a question on the other end of what Matthew had just commented on is, should we ask our city attorney to take a look at that ordinance that he just brought up to make sure it is written in such a manner that is easier to,
Yeah, I'd be happy to go back and, especially if we're gonna consider maybe allowing the payment of a fine or a fee, to waive that kind of issue. I think there's some clarifying language that certainly could be put in place to replace some of what's there. The substance of it, as it stands now, is what it is, and I think the finance department did exactly the right thing in saying, we have to follow the code, but the city council certainly has the ability to waive a minor irregularity like a half an hour. So for the finance director to bring this to you is exactly how the process is supposed to go. And it's your discussion tonight that will decide whether to waive that and allow them to apply or not. So I think we're all following exactly what we should, but yes, to the point of both the Mayor Pro Tem and yourself, ma'am, the code is certainly worth looking at again.
Just to reiterate, Mayor and Council, we had this discussion many times. You guys have the authority to, allow an alternative to it. Staff were mandated to keep those sections of the codes that you guys worked out. I'd recommend keeping them. We could look at the language that way, but it always allows the council to override staff's recommendation. That's the best part of that ordinance. It allows it. It even states it clearly.
I would further recommend that, I know it was mentioned about fines that, and I'm happy to take a look at it, but I don't want to get in a situation where a fine becomes just a part of doing business.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to give us a fine, $100, $200. That's all part of doing business. I get with it next week. I got a lot of things to do right now. So we don't want to fall into that trap. So I think by the fact that we have discretion to use, what a reasonable person would do, I think that would be the appropriate, remedy, at least for me.
I don't agree of doing a fine, because, I could just say, oh, I'll pay the fine, I don't need to turn in the paperwork. The previous year, someone turned in their paperwork late. Do you remember how long it was?
I don't have it in front of me, but.
It was more than.
It was more, it was like maybe days
reasonable.
or weeks or something like that. I don't have the exact, but it was more than just
Because
the next day.
we denied a.
Yeah, some of them were very
permit.
late, so, yeah.
Okay, so it was.
It was more than
longer.
just a few days, it was like in getting to the weeks.
Okay, thank you.
So that sounds like we're going to.
I didn't chime in yet.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to go with the letter of the law. And nothing against you, Matthew, or anything, but, I believe we let individuals last year slide by. It's time that we take a stance, and I don't disagree with you with the ordinance. Matthew's not a first-timer. Little League's not a first-timer. They've read that over and over. Every year they read that. If we're going to have an ordinance, let's stick by our guns and deny this year. We can't keep giving people chances. We'll just throw the ordinance away then. We don't need an ordinance, we'll just decide up here what to do with individuals. We have something in writing, we have to stick by it. I don't, half hour late, that's fine, but I'm sure there was somebody else in the church that could have ran that down here, or somebody drop it off. I just agree, I'm going with the letter of law, and I'm gonna deny on this application.
Right. So the recommendation is to just deny one of them, right? Have one organization.
Both of them. Both of them. Yeah, Little League.
Just have one organization submit the financial late. The other organization.
but if we deny them, the Wesleyan Church is allowed to apply again next year, correct?
That's correct, Mayor and Council. And just for the record, the church was working with finance. It wasn't like it was like on the other applicants who don't show up. They were I've seen them walking out back and forth, working with Josh over there in finance. It was just, but we have to enforce the code. I know people came to me and said, 30 minutes, come on. But I'm like, the code says it, so we have to just follow that. But obviously, the applicant can come to the council and the council can allow. But it wasn't like it was like some of our other applicants who don't show up, who don't fill out the paperwork, who are not paying, following the ordinance. all of those things. That was not the case with this. This was just a 30-minute oversight. It was at night too. We were closed.
Yeah, I still stand. I'm still okay with allowing them to do it this year, but that would be my vote.
I'm having a hard time on this one. Because I feel like we have to follow it.
My only comment is I'm having a really difficult time with this. And part of the reason is because I'm a stickler on fireworks to begin with, and I thought we had it all figured out last year. It was cut and dried as far as.
Lenience.
Mayor and council, one other thing I want to add, we have no other fireworks stands.
And I will
Just
say
as a heads
this
up.
too. I went out of my way last year and we had an issue. And I am less likely today to go out of my way only because of what I was burnt with this last year.
Well, let us decide and move on. Either we're going to okay it or deny it.
I'm okay allowing them to go ahead this year. It was only 30 minutes, and they were working with finance. If they were not working with finance, I would have said no.
But we have to, as a group, we do need to, when we make a decision, we need to stick with the decision. If that's the verdict of the council that, yes, this time we're making an exception, we made an exception, remember, last year too. When do we stop with the exceptions? That's my only question.
And I guess for me, it's more of the intent of these. The way I look at it, a lot of these are volunteer, not necessarily this church, but these organizations are volunteer. It takes a little bit extra time out of your working day when you're working full time. And I understand, we get busy with life and things pop up. Goodness, I know things pop up in life and it really takes you for a spin. I'm not saying that's always going to be the case, but, for me, I guess I'm a little more lenient on this because of, they have to donate to charities and the youth activities. I know the church does a lot in the community, and so I try and look at it as, okay, this isn't, there's not a ton of organizations applying. They're doing good in the community. I'd rather see those efforts continued and hopefully next year, get on a better path of making sure they are on time and whatnot. And that's my rationale behind it.
Okay, sounds great. Had some pretty good discussion on it. I'll entertain a motion just so we get clear direction to the staff on this item. Anyone wants to entertain a motion?
I'll make the motion to allow Wesleyan Church to apply for a booth this year.
Okay, so the motion's been made that Wesleyan Church had the opportunity to apply this year.
I'll second that.
Second, okay. Is there any further discussion on the motion?
No, I feel like I have to abstain since, like I said, I got burnt on the last one that I jumped on.
Well, you don't have to sustain. There's no reason that would be your choice to, but there's no policy or legal reason for you to sustain.
No. Either yes or no vote.
Okay, seeing no more discussion, let's have a vote on it. The council, please vote on the motion.
For item number 8, the motion passes with 3 yeses and 2 noes. Councilmember Kearney and Councilmember Hoffman-Gorman are voting no.
Okay. That one. And
Okay, number 9.
Do we have to discuss Little League?
yeah, because that motion covered Wesleyan Church. Let me see. So what was the situation with Little League?
They just
They violated or went above.
Violated our code. And I do agree, and I would like possibly a year suspension.
Did they file,
How many years?
A year.
No, 5. At least 5. For what they did,
so it says that it took them, they had to send them a letter. And did they ever, does it say that they ever?
Ron, what, sorry,
they
Mayor
ever
and
file?
Council, what's the, how long are they just can't apply this year, right?
I'm not too positive with the Lawndale code, how it goes with the verification that we sent them as far as.
They can apply next year.
They can
though.
apply next year.
Yeah, just the
Notify
stuff this
that
year.
their
And you guys
license
can
has
entertain it,
been
we can bring it
revoked.
forward next year.
Yeah.
But there is a number of years where I just don't have the code in front of you, I'd have to get back to you on that one.
Yeah,
But
can we get back on the number of years?
I would revoke this year, this 2024, until we know.
staff can bring back an update on the number of years for the suspension for the violations.
Okay.
Because I guess what I wasn't clear on, because the language here reads their license been revoked, as opposed to they're not allowed to participate next year in the fireworks opportunity, which would give you a permit. I'm not sure what this means when it said their license had been revoked.
Mayor, because they meet the certain qualifications for a charitable organization under our code.
Yeah.
And so they have to meet all these requirements, but because of the violations, they were not allowed to apply this year.
But they're still a charitable organization, they're just not allowed to participate this year. So how can you revoke their license to be a charitable organization?
Well, they had a license from the previous, in before December, and we start the new process in the new calendar year. So for that year of 2023, they lost it after the fireworks, they lost their license. That's what that's
I
meant.
mean more like a permit to.
Their permit, yes, their permit, yes.
Okay, but they still have, if they're required to have a license, they still have a license to be.
But Mayor, there's a
an
section of the
organization.
code that, once you're caught, there's a certain amount of years for certain violations. We need to get back to the council on that one.
Oh, I understand that. I
Yeah.
just was confused by.
Sorry about the confusion.
The term, license being revoked. You know.
so we'll bring that back when we find out.
I can either update the council if you like and send a full email, or I can bring it back to council if you want to.
Well, either way, we have to decide not to, either to allow them this year or not allow them.
Then we
So-
can certainly bring something back if the council wants to entertain that and look at that for the next following
From
year.
what I understand from the report, they were already disqualified. It's
Exactly.
a decision whether to override it. So
Correct.
if we do nothing, they're still disqualified.
The-
So we
yeah.
take no action. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So then when you do the report, if we don't necessarily have to act on it,
Yes.
anything, right?
That's correct,
So you
Mayor.
don't have to put anything on the agenda.
We don't have to if you, no. Right now, they're disqualified from applying.
So in order for, if we want them to be qualified, you have to put that on the agenda.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council,
Could do it,
and then
okay.
override staff.
I got you, okay. Okay. I'm okay with that one.
Me too.
Okay, all right.
Moving right along.
Moving right along.
Number 11, right?
No, number 9.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, number 9 is update of the results for the illegal firework suppression.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and distinguished members of the City Council. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you tonight. The staff report you have before you is an update on the results of the 2023 illegal fireworks suppression detail. Each year for the past 3 years, the Municipal Service Department and the LASD Sheriff's Department have worked together in a individual plan to reduce the number of illegal fireworks being launched each year in the city of Lawndale. The plan includes a heavy public information campaign warning residents against the use of illegal fireworks within the city, increased citation amounts for possession and use of illegal fireworks, and a heavy deputy presence on the days leading up to the 4th of July holiday. Each year the plan is evaluated and analyzed to prove maximum efficiency, and this year I'm happy to report that this year more citations were issued to violating parties than have ever been before, with a total of 89 administrative citations being issued over the course of the 4-day holiday. Amongst those 89 citations issued, 36 parties chose to appeal their citations through the city's internal hearing process. 19 of those citations were upheld, and 17 of those contested citations were dismissed by the hearing officer. Currently, more than $110,000 has been paid, with one more round of internal appeals hearing scheduled for later this month. This last round of appeals will be the final round of internal hearings. Typically, staff will complete all illegal fireworks appeals hearings by December, but due to the high number of appeals this year, as well as MSD department granting additional time for residents to appeal their sites, we're only now finishing with the appeals. Additionally, residents who receive citations for any violation, including parking citations and code violations, have the option to bypass our internal hearing appeals and go directly to the Los Angeles Superior Court. Currently, we are aware of at least 3 different appeals that are in that process with the Superior Court right now. So we don't know the results of those, and anyone who did have their citation upheld can still utilize that option. That is something that they're legally allowed to do. So $110,000 has been collected currently. I don't want to speculate on how much more will be collected because we don't know how those hearings will go. And I'm available to answer any questions at this time.
Okay, thank you for that update. Any questions on the update from the fire suppression?
I do. How long do I have, if I pay my fine, how long do I have to appeal and get my refund?
So when an appeal is made for not just fireworks but any citation, you have 3 weeks to fill out the appeal form, and then when the appeal is filled out, there's an internal review, which is my staff will look at it. If the address is incorrect, if the time is wrong, if we see something, an error made by our officer on any level, if they've got the license plates inverted on a parking citation, if the code violation is incorrectly listed, then we'll dismiss the citation right there and it won't go through the hearing process and nothing will have to be paid. If we determined that the citation was issued and was valid, then we would require them to appeal with data processing. They would have to pay the fine at that time, fill out the appeal, send it into data processing, and then data processing will suggest dates on when the next hearing can be. We only have 8 hearings per month because that's what we pay for. So that includes all hearings, parking, code, animal control, anything. So that's part of the reason the delay happens. Also, we have to make sure that the hearing officer, or in this case deputies, and the violating party can all make it to the hearing. So if a resident can't make a certain date, we'll extend it and let them go. So once they've paid the fine, it could be several months before their hearing, as long as they're okay with that.
So the $100,000 we got, those are already in the funds and could be used for this upcoming.
Yes.
They go into the general
suppression.
fund as anything that the council chooses to use it for.
Okay, thank you.
And the mayor and council, just to add, we're gonna, the rest of the fines, whatever are collected, we'll add it up and it'll be closer to more 180,000 roughly, plus if whatever the disposition of those fines are and the rest of the appeals are pending.
I would just like to say thank you to the Sheriff's Department and our administrators here at the City Hall for the fine work that they did this last year. I think we were closer to what the expectation is within the city. And I'm one of those ones that says that that fine needs to remain at $2,500 because it's got to pinch a little bit in order to learn the lesson. That's comment number 1. Comment number 2 is I hope in the years moving forward that we are not dismissing nearly as many as we're keeping. So I'd like to see that tighten up as well. It's illegal. It's called an illegal firework. Obviously, when the word illegal is there, there's a repercussion. And I agree that the state recommendation of $2,500 is appropriate. That's usually in around here about a month's worth of rent. It's gotta hurt or we're still going to have to suffer for it. And there's too much work being put into this here at City Hall, managing it, that it's worth that $2,500 if you're willing to break the law. So again, thank you to the Sheriff's Department. Thank you to our staff members here on all the work. This was an incredible year, and I just moving forward would like to see that continue. I believe that even that happening on the 4th of July affected us on New Year's Eve with a down slope of how many blasts we were hearing in the neighborhood. So great job, guys.
Thank you, Councilmember. I would add too that every year part of the plan includes a list of all the people who got citations in the previous years. So those are places we look for to see if it's done again. And every year, no one who got a citation before has done it again. So the pinch is effectively working, so people learn their lesson and they don't do it again.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to add something? Okay. All right, so that would be the update on the illegal fireworks suppression plans. Any further comments? If not, we will receive this report and file it. Thank you for the report. Let's move on to item 10, the quarterly investment report.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. All right, so we have the 12/31 fiscal Q2 cash and investment report. The city has a total of 53.4 million plus 2.3 million cash with fiscal agent and trust, and 1,150 in petty cash and 712,000 in the PARS investment account. As far as interest rates have been going up. If you look at what LAIF has been, what the LAIF yield is at 12/31, it was 3.96%. A year ago, 12/31/22, it was at 2.04%. So rates have almost doubled. The Fed Reserve, however, has recently, paused the rate hikes. They feel that inflation has kind of slowed down, so they're at a pause. Bond markets are kind of pricing in for later this year for rates to start being cut. We're not too sure about that, but I think the general consensus among most analysts is that we're going to be at these levels for longer than expected. So rate cuts maybe, or maybe not towards the end of this year. It all kind of depends on what inflation does and what the Fed wants to do with that information. Looking at the investments that we have 21 million in the checking, and then we have about 24.3 million in LAIF, and then other than that we have some CDs. We have about 3.1 million in short-term CDs, which is 1 year or less. That makes up just under 6% of the portfolio. We have another 2.9 in midterm CDs, which is about 5.5% of our total fund. And then long-term, we have two agency bonds at $2 million, which is just under 4% of our portfolio. Of that 2 million, these are what's called callable bonds, and one of them has already been called in January, so that's actually down to $1 million. The other $1 million will also more than likely be called in June, and what that means is that at the time that we bought these were paying 6% interest, but they're callable, so that when the call is due, and each bond has a different time limits of when this can happen. It could be 3 months, 6 months, a year. One of them was just 3 months. The other one is, I believe, 9 months. So the 3 month was called. That was paying 6%. And the reason it was called is nobody's paying 6% right now. Rates have come down since then. So when it gets called, we get our interest up to that date, and then we get the full principal back. So there's no loss, and this is kind of the normal way that these agency bonds work, and that's expected. The other one will, unless rates go up, which I don't think they will, that's also paying 6%. Most of them right now, they're in the 5% range. So in June, that will probably be called as well. But again, we'll get the full principal back plus interest for those 9 months at the 6% rate. At that point, and also currently, now we have, there was in December 2 others that were called as well. So we do have some extra cash on hand, and those need to be reinvested again, most likely into CDs and also other bonds that we can get out there. I will look for longer term, because if rates do start to come down, I want to make sure we lock in some long term for 3 to 5 years. So just to have better returns for a longer time. And with that, that concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you for that report. Are there any questions on the quarterly investment report? Okay, thank you, Mr. Finance Director. We will receive and file that report. Item 11, South Bay Council Government's Bike Master Plan Update. Yes,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Mayor. This is a report regarding a South Bay Cities Council of Governments bike master plan. The City Council adopted the South Bay City Council of Governments bike master plan in 2011. That included working with the City of Lawndale, Redondo Beach, El Segundo, Hermosa Beach, Gardena, Manhattan Beach, and Torrance. The purpose of the plan was to determine if the network would work and how it would work, as well as to check for sufficient infrastructure for bike lanes. On October of 2014, City Council approved the authorization to partially fund the Hawthorne Boulevard bicycle lanes project through Metro Call for Projects grant. Eventually, it was found in 2017 that the project was deemed infeasible, and the Public Works Department brought the project back and proposed a bike-friendly street on Freeman. Then the project was discussed by City Council again, and it was recommended to approach Metro for additional funds for the project. Then the project was brought back in April of 2018, and there was alternative routes provided by the Department of Public Works, where it was pushing the Hawthorne Boulevard routes away and actually proposing 166 Freeman and 147th. The proposal was discussed during that meeting, however, it was tabled at a later time. Staff then contacted the South Bay Council of Governments, and we actually requested a status on the master plan. The master plan has not been updated, however, the COG has been working on a South Bay Local Travel Network program, and it's basically a regional plan to safely route personally owned vehicles such as like slow speed, zero emission scooters, etc. And right now they're doing a pilot program with the City of El Segundo, and they're actually willing to meet with the City of Lawndale to see and talk to see if we're interested in actually working with them regarding that new plan that they're putting together. And I did want to bring up that we did contact Metro and regarding the TDA funding, which is the Transportation Development Act funds, to see how much money there's available for any bike lane project proposal. And the grant has $100,013,919 available in case you wanted to take action to propose a project to Metro. And then we would also use Proposition C funds to support any of that. And that will go through the Public Works Department. And that concludes my report. Staff recommends that the City Council receive and file the report or provide staff further direction on where we would take the project. And I'm available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that report. Let's hear from Madam Pro Tem.
I do have a question. The 113,000, is that a pool where different cities have to apply, or that would be available only to us?
So this is a fund that was available to us, and it's in a refund basis. So we would use it and then request a refund from Metro. But it is a grant for our city.
Mayor, council, reimbursable, it's a reimbursable grant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yes, I say that.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know why Hawthorne Boulevard was X'd out?
I believe it was, let me take.
Mayor, council, the
It was-
reason there's been challenges, I sat in the meetings over the years, so because of the high traffic volume.
Yeah.
The limited, the wide sidewalks and limited opportunities in parking, council over the years have looked at it, and, I mean, obviously, the council can look at it again. There's been concerns about it being not as, kind of, it's kind of a freeway, Hawthorne Boulevard, Manhattan Beach when at night, and going west and east, Rosecrans, so there's been some challenges. The council did entertain in 17-18, as Ms. Chavez pointed out, looking at some local streets, which I think the council at that time was not comfortable. And I personally worked with the COG on that network plan, and I don't know, and I guess after during COVID, it kind of, I know we were working, because I sat with them, and we were picking out sites to bring further down to, for the council consideration. We're looking at it, it's like a multimodal plan that they were working on, scooters, e-bikes, bicycles, all of that, they were working on that, so. It has gone back and forth over the years, and we'll be happy to entertain direction from the council on this.
Well, the reason why I ask is we're thinking of 147th, which is the worst street right now to have a bike lane, in the sense that we closed 149th on Englewood, so everybody's taking 147th down. As it is, it's a one-side parking space, so you can't put a bike lane there. You're talking about Freeman also, which is traffic, it's worse than Hawthorne sometimes. So how do we decide which streets to use? Because we probably need to do a new study since the last one that was provided.
I think, didn't it have something to do with the wider street? They were looking for a two-lane interior street to put it down. I wasn't on council at that time, but I remember sitting in the audience and that being part of it. Is my memory serving correct?
They were trying to find bike lanes, but none of our streets will accommodate the bike lane. But I think we brought up, what do you call those things? Roads, share roads? We have that little bike picture and the arrows going this way. I know over by Mark Twain, they have them by the school. All they have in their street is the share roads with the guy on a bike and the arrows going this way. That's what we should be looking at, not bicycle lanes. Share roads are with traffic and bicyclists, and mopeds, or whatever it is, scooters,
Right.
sure.
So what's the difference between, so the city of Hawthorne, on Hawthorne Boulevard has a bike lane? Because I use it when I bike. So what's the difference between theirs and our stretch?
When they did the renovation, the sidewalks they shrunk the sidewalks to make the bike lanes.
They did, okay.
If you look at them right now, their sidewalk are a little bit thinner than ours.
That's right, Mary, and just to recall the council, our Hawthorne Boulevard specific plan sidewalks are urbanized sidewalks, they're wide. And so they're some areas are 7-8 feet wide in some areas. Not all of the tangent all the way down, but majority of Hawthorne Boulevard, they're wider urbanized sidewalks. And when you go to Hawthorne, on the city of Hawthorne side, they're a little smaller, a little less urbanized to accommodate the bike lanes. And we do, you're right, that we could look at, if the council that wants to entertain looking at bike lanes again, we can definitely work with Public Works and bring something back and work with the COG as well. They seem to be, we checked with the COG, it's in the staff report, I think they are working on something, that network, and which includes bicycle lanes and all that. I know because I sat with them on it.
Well, a share road doesn't need a bicycle lane. It just means you share the road with traffic and bicyclists. I suggest we wait to see what El Segundo does, how it comes up, their pilot, and take it from there. Because I know El Segundo is the same size as us.
So theirs, they launched it,
Yeah.
and I think they're gonna be providing us with an update, but I know Redondo Beach and I wanna say Gardena, and about at least 3 other cities are working to locate slow streets for theirs, because the whole idea is, with that network, is you can travel with your slow speed vehicle and you can get around your city and to other cities using those streets. And I think it's a great idea, if you like, I know a few people that have motorized scooters and whatnot, so it's like a way for them to use those routes to travel around the city. I don't know that I know they're 2 different things, completely different from bike lanes exclusively, but I would be very interested in starting to meet, at least for that project, with the COG and to discuss our city and how we could do that. I think it'd be pretty cool to implement in our city, if there's funding for it.
Yeah.
Mayor and council, I would recommend that multi-network, because we have so many different, we have scooters, we have electric bikes, we have bicycles. So when they came to us, I thought that was a great idea, because that'll address, all the different types of modes of transportation that are in the city.
So we're gonna reach out to the COG and find out?
We could definitely reach out, I have public, reach out to them and engaged on that network. That I think it's the multi-network, or regional network. And one other thing I was gonna mention, you need all the cities together. I think the idea, at least when I talked to Aaron a few years back, was to create a connectivity and all the cities are, all on the same, so they can have a path lane. Make a regional type of network that all works for everyone. I believe that's the idea behind it.
I agree with that. Anyone wish to provide any public comments on this item?
Hi, my name is Andrew Blackney. I'm a resident here in Lawndale. I just wanted to discuss like the importance of having separate infrastructure for slower moving vehicles, especially for bicyclists, because so the way the law is currently written in California, and I know this because I bike every day, so I want to do this in a safe and legal manner. Just for you guys' awareness, so you have to stay to the rightmost lane that you are in the direction you're trying to travel in. You also have to, cars are supposed to yield to you. Yielding to you means giving you 3 feet of space, and then they can go at the speed that's posted there. So for instance, on Hawthorne Boulevard, that means a car can pass you going 35 miles an hour with 3 feet of space. So it's important to have separate infrastructure there for those slower moving vehicles, so that they're not getting passed by cars going very fast. And let's just say the occasional car might go faster than 35 miles an hour or some other speed. So it's important to have that separate infrastructure there for those vehicles, because the level of severe injury caused by an accident from someone opening their door, not seeing you, and then you being bumped into traffic, going 35 miles an hour, there's a 50% chance. This is from the National Highway Safety Administration, or National Highway Safety Board. 50% chance of severe injury going 32 miles an hour. Going 45 miles an hour, that brings that up to 81%. And for chances of death, it's 33% or around that for 32 miles an hour, and above that, it's very scary. So it's very important for the city to have this separate infrastructure, especially because in a city where the median income is around $69,000, average price of a used car is around $20,000, average price of a new car is around $55,000, you're asking your residents to pay a lot to be able to use the streets, because the streets are public space, but you're telling them they have to have a car to use it. And if they don't want to have a car or can't afford a car, the other methods are very dangerous. So that's why for me personally, biking to work every day, it's very important for the city to look at these modes of transportation and find a way to give those vehicles an option to move in a way that is safe, that is separate from faster moving cars. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Matthew Harbison. So we're kind of dealing with all sorts of double-edged swords in that there's a great grant from Metro, but Metro's our enemy right now with the right of stay, excuse me. And so one of the problems that I'm just seeing in the horizon is all these cities get together and create these great paths, and then Metro cuts through it. And the path that we had is now broken because now there's a thoroughfare. So we want to get in touch with these other cities. We want to see where these routes can do, because we want to be able to connect people to not just be in Lawndale, because we'd like other people to come to Lawndale, so having these connections. But we do have to keep in mind that keeping everyone aware, Metro can just cut right through wherever these paths that we make. And so I'm just hoping that as we look at the bigger picture, we're aware that being in polite conversations with other cities on trying to help people with bicycles may get ridden over with the Metro line. So that's just be aware of that.
Thank you. Any additional discussion on this item?
I know this is brought forward. There was opposition about the bicycle lane, because I believe, maybe the sergeant can correct me, the bicycle lane is 3 feet from the curb to the street. That is considered a bicycle lane. But if you have a parked car there, that bicycle has to go around that parkade, not park around that parked car. Now you're impeding in a traffic lane. That was the biggest problem trying to bring this forward. Because I said on this, when we started this plan with Redondo, Los and all them, and that was the biggest problem we had, is parked cars going around parked cars, because you're no longer in your bicycle lane, you're impeded into ongoing traffic. That was one of the problems why it kind of died.
My concerns is that I would love to do this if we can, obviously, if we have streets that's appropriate. And I don't know, I'm not saying that we don't. And so I do suggest that we take a look at it if we have streets that are appropriate. But one of the things that I find interesting is that if we create bike lanes, and let's say the bike lanes are totally separate, which I agree, in the best case scenario, they should be. But then you have an issue to where you have a bike lane, but you're still allowed to ride in the non-bike lanes and take over the lane. Because you're supposed to take over the lane, which means you're supposed to ride in the middle, not on the side or what have you, because you don't want cars trying to split the lane with you or what have you. I'm wondering, is there legislation that would say, okay, if you have a bike lane and it's separate, then you have to ride in the bike lane. You cannot ride in, quote unquote, a vehicle lane. Because what prohibits someone from being in, and I see this all the time, in the city of LA, they have these bike lanes. And people are driving in the bike lane, and all of a sudden they're just, for whatever reason, decide, now I'm going to get in the vehicle lane, back and forth or what have you, and it causes a disruption in the flow of patterns or what have you, because obviously the bike is not going as fast as the vehicle. So I don't know if there's any safeguards you have that you can employ if you have these bike lanes.
Mayor, council, we can look at that when we bring something back, if we get direction to work with the COG and then bring some recommendations back for you to consider.
Okay, I'm open to that.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, so we'll do that. You'll work with the COG or come
Yes, Mayor and
bring
Council.
us something
Yep.
back. Okay, and thank you for those comments to the residents. Thank you so much. Okay, with that, we will advance the agenda to item 12, recommendation to use the development impact fees for arts and public places projects to paint artwork onto utility boxes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and distinguished members of the City Council. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you this evening. The staff report that you have before you is a recommendation from staff to use development impact fees for an art and public places project to paint artwork onto electrical boxes within the City of Lawndale. At our last City Council meeting, the City Council discussed implementing art projects within the city, specifically using electrical boxes owned by Southern California Edison as platforms to display artwork. City manager suggested that staff could utilize funds paid by the new Sprout supermarket development impact fees to finance this project, and which currently has $15,000 available money to cover the cost of hiring an artist to paint several boxes in the city with decorative art pieces. In further discussions with staff, city manager suggested the Lawndale Beautification Committee spearhead the project and find appropriate artists and gather suggestions on what could be painted on those boxes. The next meeting of the Lawndale Beautification Committee will be this upcoming Thursday, and with the council's approval, I would like to present this idea to them at that meeting and get their input. Staff is recommending that the City Council give staff direction on moving forward with one of the following options. Option A, use the development impact fees to paint or wrap electrical boxes with art depictions to showcase local artists. Option B, use development impact fees to fund a different art and public places project not involving electrical boxes, such as public sculptures or monuments. Or option C, use the development impact fees for some other art and public places showpiece not already mentioned. And I can answer any questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you for that report. Anyone want to speak on this item?
I do.
Yes.
Could we, besides having local artists, could we involve the schools or the new museum with this, or do we have to contract someone from outside?
So that's the direction we're hoping to get from council tonight. If we went with wraps rather than painting, that would cost about $800 to $1,200 per box on a 4x6 by 8 size box. That's going to be more of a mass-produced image rather than an artist, because they sell them to specifically be put on. But that would have to be some savings. If we wanted to go with artists, there's any number of artists, and I have spoke with Barbara about doing more art in public places. So Barbara, the curator at ESMO, and I have spoken about this. She can certainly recommend artists that she's worked with. We're just looking for directions in terms of if do you want to focus on just the electrical boxes, or would you like to do something else? I know other cities have inlays of their logos on the ground in City Hall that would also be considered art. If you wanted to do something like sculpture or things like that in the parks, and anything could be. I just want to open it up to the beautification committee so I can give them direction on what the focus of the council would like.
Can I just join in on this conversation?
Mhm.
My question is, have we done any research yet on if a wrap or art is easier to clean because of graffiti or by stickering? Because, you know, half the time you stop your car and you look at an electrical box and you can see somebody just hung out their window and slapped a sticker on it. Is there one form or one application that is easier on those things than another?
I can certainly look into it. Off the top of my head, I don't know. Slap tagging is a difficult thing to combat because it can happen just in a second. Same thing with graffiti. I would think that painting would be the more difficult to correct because you would have to bring the artist back to do the work. It wouldn't be something that staff could correct. We'd have to do all the corrections with that artist, and then we'd be relying on their availability as well. The wrap, because it's mass produced, we could just get another one or a section of it to replace. So I would think that would be a cheaper option. But sadly, that's one of the challenges with any art in public places project is that vandals can damage it.
That's one of my concerns.
My whole way of seeing it, if we allowed our community to participate in painting these boxes, then it'll bring pride to the city and less likely someone to graffiti them because it's your artwork. You know, that's the way I see it. If we allowed our community to participate, they're going to watch it more and I think less graffiti.
I think local artists would, and the community would be more vested in maintaining it. But again, I would leave it to the council for direction.
Do you know if these wrap companies, if they could take art that is produced here, and I have another idea on this, but do you know, can they take and make their wraps out of what might be brought up in the community?
From what my understanding is, there are custom wraps. If you provide the artwork, they can do the wrap for you, but then the price would go up because now they're taking something customizable.
I would like to tell you what I would appreciate, that we have a common theme of the art projects, whether it be the history of our area, okay? Maybe some foliage that is natural to our area, maybe anything to do with our history. Teach the lesson in our schools, you know, about the history of the area. What crops did we grow? What kind of things did we do here? You know, we're getting ready to tear down the oldest structure in the city of Lawndale right now, which breaks my heart. And it happens to be, the house actually belonged to Jim Osborne, our previous council member. I'm really sad to see that go. That's a piece of our history that is just going to be bulldozed. And so that being said, I'd like to see something, some theme, not just random art, but a theme so that when you're driving around the city, you're going, oh, I see this, I see that. Maybe it's by decade. I don't know, whatever the community or whatever the committee would like, but I would like to see it being themed or the idea being something that represents Lawndale in some manner.
I think it's a good idea.
Thank you for that. You wanted to add something?
No, I think those are good ideas. I like the idea of the community painting them, possibly with the oversight of local artists, so that there's, you know, they can help guide and it can be like a team effort.
Sure, and at with the blessing of the council at the meeting on Thursday, I can give all those ideas to the beautification committee and make them have the focus be a theme with Lawndale and possibly going through the decades in history, and get community involvement rather than paid artists. I can put all these to the beautification committee. Does the focus then electrical boxes? Is that rather than anything else? Is that the?
My goal with bringing it up was just simply to discourage graffiti, discourage the stickers, and I'd rather look at a electrical box that is nice to look at than the other things that are occurring on it.
So, thank you for all those comments. So, we see in some cities, there was a community called Washington neighborhood in Long Beach, and that's exactly what they did on some of their boxes. And it's not just unique to Long Beach, where they have the community actually participate in doing the boxes, because it's been proven that when you have the community input and they actually take part in the design and the implementation, that there's ownership and they're least likely to be graffiti or vandal, whether it's the boxes or murals or what have you, any type of public art. So I definitely would like for our community to be involved in it rather than just an artist solo. Maybe, of course, under the supervision, of course, because, you know, everyone's not an artist, right? Right, under the supervisions. I would bring to your attention that in 2006, this idea was first adopted by the council. Yeah. And we put in place at that time the Arts and Public Places program, which is funded by impact fees on development. Well, shortly after that, development kind of stopped, you know, because you have to meet a certain threshold in order to have that impact fees imposed on the development. Unfortunately, the development kind of stopped, and we have not had projects until this Sprouts project that reached that threshold to where those development fees kicked in. So years and years later, we're now there. So I'm excited about this project. And by the way, the Arts and Public Places program, it does not, it's not restricted to utility boxes. It's arts and public places. If you go to, when I first came with this ideal, it wasn't an original ideal. It was from when I was in Cerritos, at Cerritos Library. And they had this nice sculpture or something there or other, and I inquired about it, and they said they had this arts and public places. And they actually had a few art pieces around town or what have you. I said, man, that is really nice or what have you. And we got the documentation from Cerritos and kind of patterned it after Cerritos. Of course, Cerritos was booming, you know, those days, right? And that's how they was able to get a great deal of funding through those impact fees or what have you. And but I'm glad to see that we're now at that point to where we can kind of start implementing some of these programs, because art is not only art, but you can use art as an economic development tool, which is one of the reasons why I like art. I'm not a big art aficionado. How'd you say that?
Aficionado.
There you go, aficionado. But I can appreciate art, but I can really appreciate it for the economic development opportunities that it brings to a community. And you talk about the utility boxes. When you take the utility boxes, they're just there, even if they're not, you know, graffiti, and you liven up the community. And I do agree with a theme, because in Long Beach they do have a theme on certain communities. Each community have a certain theme that's germane to that particular community or what have you. That makes even more buy-in when you do have that kind of theme or what have you, in addition to the local community being involved in the process itself. We want to thank Sprout, of course, for coming to the city of Lawndale first and foremost, and also for these impact fees. I would say quickly that when we adopt this, on the recommendation, it reads that we should use the impact fees. I want to stress that we want to use the current impact fees that's in the account, not that we are making a determination that all impact fees would be used for utility boxes, but the current money that's currently in the account.
Mr. Mayor and Council, that's 15,000, just for clarification.
Right, it's 15,000, but if we take it on face value right here, it says the fees themselves. So I want to specify that it's the 15,000 we're looking at, because we may get hopefully we'll get some more development where some more money will come in, and we don't necessarily want to restrict the program to just utility boxes, but certainly for this 15,000, I think we can do a good program. I would be interested though in at least exploring some. I think you described as inlays. Is that what you do?
I believe Redondo has a concrete inlay of their logo on the streets or in their city hall, which is.
And those
I would
really,
like to speak about that as well.
Those really make a community look well. And Bellflower has one as well under one of their the underpasses. I guess that's what it's called, inlay, when it has your logo and stuff like that, or what have you.
Correct. And it could be, it doesn't have to be a logo, it could be any design that the council
Design,
would like, but
yeah.
yeah.
Then, of course,
I
when
don't
you-
know, 15, that might be a little low for that.
And then, of course, when you go to the desert, and we go to the desert almost every year, you know you're there, because each community is marked with their unique, stamp or what have you. And I think it really adds a nice touch to the community. So, in addition to the boxes, why don't we just at least take a look at to see what that would look like? If we could squeeze in both of them, perhaps.
Well, I would like to see when we're starting to talk about inlays and things like this, and I immediately think of Bellflower as well. Okay, we all have our city seal that we wear. A lot of cities they keep this for their formal things like their stationery and things, but they also have a logo. And that's exactly what Bellflower has. And it's nice to see them be able to paint underneath their underpasses, and that seems to alleviate some of the graffiti that is going on with their logo. I've even seen it in the middle of streets, like, say, in your major intersection, something. It would be nice eventually to create a Lawndale logo that is less formal than this, which is kind of sacred to all of us, but maybe should be kept in a more, I don't know the word that I'm, professional and more elegant
I know what you're saying,
type than your casual, us wearing it on our jacket all the time.
Yeah, because at one time, we had discussion about branding. I don't know if it was under the current city manager or the one preceded you, but.
The previous city manager.
That was one of the plans he was looking at, is doing some branding. That's exactly
really?
what you were speaking of.
So I think that would lay into what you're talking about, the inlays and things like this, but I would be keeping that in the back of my mind as I'm developing the electric boxes, is, hey, would this look good with something else?
And we already have permission from Caltrans, because when we met with Caltrans, they did indicate that we have the authority already to be able to do art or what have you on their property, the underpass. Yes. So that'd be good.
And I have one question. Is the YAC committee back up and running, or is still solvent? Okay. Because I'd like to see, once they get back, them involved too.
Absolutely.
The youth of Lawndale.
Yes.
Yeah. I definitely
Okay.
agree. Okay, so what was, did I lose my page? Oh, here it is.
So we have three
Okay,
choices.
so there's a recommendation. A, is user development impact fees to paint or wrap electrical boxes with depiction of arts in a manner that is well received by the public. Okay. Yeah, they're gonna be well received, right? I would agree with that, but of course, with the caveat, the current fees. Anybody else?
So which one did you go to? Which one did you decide?
A.
Mayor, council, A, option A is what the mayor mentioned.
With to wrap, to paint or wrap. And then B was to use them for non-utility electrical boxes, such as sculptures and monuments.
I would like to make a motion that we use it for A.
To A, yeah.
And that's with the mayor's limitation that it's the current 15,000.
That's correct.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
I'll second that if there's.
Okay, so the motion's been made by Hoffman Gorman that we use the arts in public places impact on fees for utility boxes to paint or wrap. Electrical boxes, I should say. And it was seconded by Cuevas. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, will the council please vote?
For item number 12, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, item 13, award of contract, construction contract to FS contractors.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll be brief. This is the city has received $560,000 in Prop A local transit program funds. These funds have kind of languished a little bit. Metro has been on top of us, Public Works and the city to get these things done. I met with staff, and what we're doing is recommending bus pad installation, not the shelters themselves, but decking out the pads around there with, concrete, nice stamped concrete and all that. Staff did an RFP. There were several bidders, FS Contractors, Calban, Cardenas, Paul Voltaire, and Harding Harper. The staff, the best bid came out with FS Contractors. They had the lower bid, and also the best submittal for the bid. The impact, again, we already have the money set aside from Metro, so there's no additional budget amendments. The project estimate is at $319,050, with a cost contingency of $63,810 at a total of $382,860. And the Prop A grant, and that's being paid out of the Prop A grant. Staff recommends approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions on a discussion on item 13?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
It says the work will be done in 90 working days. If they go over, do we get money back, a refund from them going over 90 days?
We can look at that. I don't think so.
Why not? It says work will be completed within 90 working days.
Well, these are bus pads, mayor and council, and so we will try to hold them to their project schedule as best as we can, but they would have to be paid for the work performed.
Okay.
But there's usually a penalty for like chronic lateness.
Yes.
I don't think it's in that
because
agreement.
You can't just decide, we got another project that's.
I'll let the city attorney bail me on this one.
Right, the agreement itself doesn't have it. The invitation for bids is not in front of us right now. In general, an invitation for bids would include reference to the Green Book, which does provide for liquidated damages for excessive lateness, but not, unlike the best project that any of us can remember, the rebuilding of the 10 freeway after the Northridge earthquake, where it was, here's the amount, and if you're over, it starts going down, and if you're under, it keeps going up. We don't like the going up, so we can't get the going down quite as much, but chronic lateness, yes, there will be change orders and there will be reimbursement to the city.
All right.
We're that close to getting money back. We're that close to getting money back.
Like Eddie Murphy says, there'll be some repercussions.
Yeah.
late. Okay, what's the pleasure of this body concerning?
Mayor, real quick, I want to mention on the agreement, we need to change make sure it says the mayor and not the city manager. When we sent it over, it has on the agreement, it has the city manager signing up, but we want to make sure, note that, to change the agreement to allow for the mayor.
You could ask for a refund. You can ask for a refund.
Want to note that I have to sign it? Yeah.
Correct, we need to just update the signature page.
Okay.
I'll make a recommendation to go on staff recommendation.
I'll second it.
Okay, the recommendations, the motion's been made by Pat Kearney that we go with staff recommendation, followed by a second by Hoffman Gorman. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the council please vote?
Where are we?
For item number 13, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, I just want to mention, some of the residents have reached out to you during the storms. So, and I know there's been some issues with the sandbags. I just want to reiterate that just for the public's information, we're open, the Public Works Yard's open Monday through Friday. We don't generally have any staff. We have one staff member that works the weekends doing graffiti removal. I was informed by Public Works staff that other city residents have been coming to Lawndale because LA County provided us about 200 sandbags. And so they're very covenanted, those sandbags, and people are coming from other cities. I also was informed from our CSD director that in other cities as well, some residents were desperate for sand and they were going in the sandboxes at the parks. So it's a real tough thing. But again, I just want to reiterate, we don't have people here on the weekends generally. So if people could get their sandbags and their needs Monday through Friday, that'd be great. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go, boy.
Let's hear from Councilwoman Cuevas. Yes, ma'am.
On On 118, I attended Supervisor Holly Mitchell Sea Line Community Meeting at the Spring Haven Apartment Meeting Room. There were a lot of our Lawndale residents and also Redondo Beach residents, and they voiced their concern. Holly Mitchell listened to them and will be answering some of their questions. And then last Saturday I attended, or actually this past Saturday, I attended the Metro Neighborhood Meeting. Several of Lawndale and Redondo Beach residents attended to discuss updates on the upcoming Metro meeting and how many buses we're gonna take, or how many people will be going on the. He skipped something.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, he did.
Because it
That's
says
okay.
items.
I was asleep.
Because it says items from council members, so I'm just reading what it says.
Well, I just did my,
Okay, so let's
my
do-
report,
so
that's
let's-
it.
So let's do yours, and then we'll.
I am done.
We'll
I only-
insert 14, and then we'll come back.
Come back to 15.
I'm done. Two items, that's it.
You done? You out of here? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's, let's go to item 14, under items from the city council members. This is advocating for a remote teleconference, virtual meeting.
Mayor, after
Who wants to
listening.
talk about this?
So this is, requests for consideration to advocate for remote teleconferencing and virtual meetings for the Los Angeles County City Selection and Sector Subcommittee. There's a request, we have 2 attached letters. Representatives from 88 cities in Los Angeles County. Obtaining in-person meeting quorum can be challenging because it's a large county. We're the most urbanist county, populated county in the United States. And so there's an advocation for allowing, teleconferencing and attached, you'll see 2 letters for your review. And for the senator and assembly member, and the staff recommends approval.
Question?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a question, Berta?
Not a question, just if we can add in there and reduce greenhouse gas emissions from traveling somewhere in there. Because that was the point. Is,
Okay.
I don't know, all these people took their cars and some of us live close, but, it was just a waste of gas.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to speak on this?
You want to?
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'll wait for you.
Yeah, I definitely would support this. This is something we've been talking about over the years, allowing for the virtual meetings. Because what happens is you have a situation to where even if they say they have a quorum, you don't know if you have enough people there to do business until you, in most cases, travel at least an hour, hour and a half, depending on where you're coming from. Because when we're talking about LA County, that means the meeting can be anywhere in LA County. Oftentimes it's downtown, but not necessarily. And so all 88 cities, the mayor from 88 cities are the mayor's appointee, have to travel wherever the meeting is. Then you'll find out if you have enough people to do business once you get there. And it has happened to me, I can't tell you how many times, where you take off from work, you do an hour, 15 minutes worth of travel, you sit there and you wait, and then you go home, right, without conducting any business because you didn't have a quorum. And so I think this will be advantageous for, and sometimes it might only be one thing on the agenda. It would be advantageous for the legislature to allow us to have this meeting virtually. As we were doing COVID, we had a lot of turnout during COVID because you didn't have to go anywhere, so it wasn't any reason not to have a quorum when you was doing it virtually during COVID. So it worked well then, and I think it'll work well, and it will save on greenhouse gas, obviously, because you won't have to travel back and forth, only to find out you didn't have a quorum and you have to come back next month. Right.
So, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
The meetings you attended, did you find any of those members like to travel to those cities to mingle and talk and shoot the breeze with people?
I mean, there's some of that going on too, but a lot of times it's because there might be 1 or 2 items that's on the agenda. You're really not taking off at 10 o'clock to go and shoot the breeze. You're going really to take care of care of business, and for me, it's a sense of agitation, but I'm here to take care of business so I can get back to work.
Yeah.
And then we're sitting around for an hour calling people, saying, hey, are you coming? Are you coming?
And to add, those meetings are merely to appoint representatives, so
Yeah.
there's not much discussion on, making changes. It's just solely to elect a
Yeah.
representative.
So it's not a policy-making board.
Okay, so hybrid would be out. You can either Zoom in or in person.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know if you Zoom in, you got to post the agenda and you got to post the location where you're at.
That's fine. You gotta do that
Yeah,
anyway.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm good with it.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're good with sending our representatives the letter?
Yeah.
Very good.
Do we have to vote, or is it just consensus?
I think consensus. Yeah. All right. Okay. So now let's do item 15. You want to redo,
Yeah.
Madam?
No,
You do it backwards?
I did 2 metro meetings. How's
Okay,
that?
very good. Councilwoman Hoffman Gordon.
All right, my turn. I might take a little bit longer. I attended the same meeting that Shirley did this last Saturday with the right-of-way folks on a metro organization meeting. They are thinking and are holding close March 28th as possibly being the date for the metro meeting, in which we probably should all mark on our calendar and make sure that we take time to be there. And that was a good meeting. Lots of great turnout, most Lawndale residents, a few Redondo Beach residents, but a really good meeting. All right, Mike, I heard really good comments this last week about our exercise classes that are being conducted over at the community center. And the only thing that they wished was that more people were there. Again, I'm wondering if we could work to maybe on social media or in some manner publicize these exercise classes once in a while. I don't think we utilize our Facebook even enough. I think that we could even be doing more. And the senior that joined in, she says, oh yes, most definitely, she wants to be back and do more. So,
Senior fitness classes?
yes.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, great work by you and the people over at the community center for offering those type of classes, so I appreciate that.
Yes.
Second on my list, I was approached by Judy from the Beautification Committee, who is asking that, again, this is another request that I have on social media and on all of our social media platforms. She is desperately wanting the Beautification Committee to grow, because currently there is a problem that they have to have enough to make a quorum to conduct any business, and they're sitting in a very awkward spot. And she says the biggest part of it is she just doesn't want to get somebody just for the number. She wants to get somebody that's invested and willing to attend the meetings and do the work. And so I'm wondering if there's some way we could publicize that on our social media platforms to start getting that together to help the Beautification Committee on that. The third issue I have is Republic complaints. Again, this week I had a senior who once again put their trash out in the parkway, and Republic can't remember to put the cans back where they got them. And our city is doing everything that they can to support us. And I want my colleagues to understand where I'm at with this, because I even called Devin from Republic myself, because remember when he was here, he gave us all his cell phone and told us he was available. And for the last several weeks, I have complained about this senior, her trash cans being in the wrong location, and nothing is being done from below him. And so I called to him, and guess what? Crickets. I haven't heard anything from him. And I don't understand why, because he promised all of us that he would be here and available to us. That being said, pre-pandemic, everybody had to put their trash cans in the parkway. And somewhere during the pandemic, people started putting them in the gutter area. And that all kind of switched. If Republic cannot figure out how to put our residents' trash cans back where they took them from, I think that then the city is going to have to start looking at making it mandatory that our residents choose one direction or the other, but all be consistent. And I don't want to have to go to that. Because a little senior citizen lady who is independent enough that she wants to carry out her trash, but isn't strong enough to pull it back up onto the parkway, should not have to risk injury to a hip, a broken knee, anything, because the trash company can't remember how to put it back up on the parkway, when that's where it's convenient for that person. And yes, I understand that they can do backyard pickup, but again, it's about keeping our seniors independent. And if it's happening at this house, it's happening at other houses and that are not complaining and that we're not hearing from. So I'm asking residents to continue, when there's issues with Republic, communicate with City Hall, please. We have to know of these problems. It can't just be the same issue over and over again. If there's problems going on at your house with your trash pickup, let us know about it. We're getting ready to have to decide a new contract with them. I think this is a really big issue that we have to consider when we're looking at deciding if they're going to be our trash haulers from this point going forward. So that's my rant on Republic. The power outage from last night. Yes, okay. Edison's power outage last night. On 160th Street, we lost power 8 times last night. 8 times my appliances on my street had the hard hit. 159th was on. 161st never lost power. I don't know about 159th, but I will tell you 161st never lost power. This morning I looked at my emails and I got 5 email notifications from Edison. So they claimed 5 of them. But I think there needs to be some accountability here to the Lawndale residents. What's going to happen on those 8 spikes when we start losing our appliances and our electronics because their system is inferior? I know in the past, about 20 years ago, I was an excited housewife because my husband had just purchased me a washer and a dryer, a new one that I was excited to get. And that was the only plug in my house that we did not have surge protectors in. And within 30 days of buying it, Edison had a power surge. And they even acknowledged that power surge, and yet they did not pay for my appliance and replacement of my appliances. This is concerning to me, and I really think that we ought to have our Edison rep coming in front of the city council to explain some of this stuff and how come it keeps happening over and over and over again. It's not just the storms. Since January 1st, that same house has already been out and had a blackout 2 other times. So that's my rant on that issue. The next one, probably this is for you, Harant. At the Metro meeting this weekend, it was asked, how much do we spend on a subcontractor, meaning Mariposa, yearly on the landscaping of the row? And number 2, I'm going to add to that, can you get me some history as to when, I believe it is the mid-'70s, maybe the early '80s, that the city council decided to go ahead and start landscaping. And if I'm not mistaken, it was because of how rough it was looking down in that area. So I would like to have not only some history, but also if we can figure out in that contract how much is actually spent, all right?
We could look at that, Mayor and Council. I know it's, it's around maybe 100,000 because we involves tree trimming as well. But we
Right.
can double check the
Right, and the
whole road.
question is, and the resident has a good question, how come Metro hasn't been paying for this? Why is it the city's responsibility if it's not, it has trespassing signs up, do not trespass. And so the question is, the city is paying for landscaping and not Metro paying for landscaping when they have signage that says no trespassing.
My understanding historically, I can kind of answer this because it's in the general plan as an open space trail. They were not maintaining it, and the city decided years back to go ahead and start maintaining it because of the lack of maintenance
That's correct.
by Burlington Northern Santa Fe, who originally owned the whole area, and then later on by Metro. And Metro's policy, I don't have their policies in front of me, but they don't maintain a lot of those right-of-ways.
And so what do
Landscaping
we
wise.
think moving forward that they would maintain if we put this track and the Metro trains coming down this way? What in the world, after they sit there and try to sell us that the row will be, oh, such lush walking trails and bike paths and all this, what makes us for a minute think that we should trust that? That's my point. Again, say no to Metro. All right, and my last one, regarding into the sandbags. First of all, thank you for having the sandbags. That was a really big deal. I don't think 200 of them is nearly enough, but I'm excited to have them. Again, I'm going to ask that when we are hitting a storm area like this, we publicize again on our social media platforms that we do have the sandbags and what hours. And I'll tell you a third piece of it that would be really nice to add. I was told by our city manager this weekend that the sandbags were pre-made, so you didn't have to bring your little shovel and make them yourself. They were actually pre-made. When I spoke to a couple of seniors, the seniors automatically said, if I would have known that, I would have been down there to get them. I was fearful I'd have to fill them up myself. I think that that is also a key piece on when they're pre-made. Let's tout that in some type of a post. And I agree, let's keep the other cities out of our supply. They're Lawndale only, but let's post what hours they can come over to Public Works and get them. That's all I have.
Okay, we're gonna pause just for a minute. But thank you for those, right? Right, but thank you for that, we appreciate that. Yes, ma'am. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, just to piggyback on Rhonda, I do have sandbags for sale. I have 100 of them. They're $1 each if you need them.
That's where they went. Someone picked up all the sandbags.
I picked up a pallet on my truck and brought them home. No, they were, I went down and got 10 of them. They are pre-filled. They're fantastic. But that's off the topic. I attended one event, and that was a Wild Horse Powwow at El Camino Village. It was great again. I had fry bread, took me home, and it was a nice walk to and from El Camino. That's it, Robert.
Did you say fried bread?
Fry bread.
Oh.
You know that if you're Native American, what is fry bread?
I mean, I never had any.
No, it's delicious. And they even had fry bread tacos in case you wanted.
Okay. All right. Very good.
With that, I'll pass it off.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, I have 3 meetings to report. Last month, the South Bay Cities Council of Government Board of Directors meeting. They didn't take a position on the route regarding the sea line. They just said generally they supported it, but they wouldn't pick a route. And then I did attend on Saturday the community metro meeting with residents. It was good to talk to them, and I think Rhonda brought up all the points. And then I also did attend the Beautification Committee Holiday Lights Competition Awards. And yes, they did bring up regarding membership. And so just generally speaking, it's good to get involved with the city. You get to learn and meet the staff. You get to meet, it's a good way to introduce yourself to how the city works and whatnot. So I definitely think if there's anybody that's interested to try it out, it's a good committee to start with. That could be fun. So if we can, I know we're promoting it still, but you know, really looking for interested people on that. And with that, I'll pass it along.
Okay, thank you. So I have, I don't have 20 items, but at least 10. Now, first of all, I want to say if anyone has received an email from me lately, right? You received one?
Yep, I did too.
You received one as well? Oh,
Look at the whole council.
I didn't even get one. Right. If
You wrote it.
If you received an email from me lately, just know that's not from me. Apparently, my evil twin is sending out emails. I'm not sure what they're asking or what have you. They want to have lunch. They're probably
You're taking us all to lunch.
taking everyone to lunch.
You're a little late.
The way you know it wasn't me is that it would include my Cash App. For you to send me, if it was me, right? Right. So just so everyone's aware, if anyone in the public received an email from me, just kind of be suspicious unless it's the Cash App says pulling for you at cashapp.com, then that's me. So other than that, it's not me, right? Okay. In no necessarily any order, I attended a meeting with coaches from Lusinger, who all went to Lusinger.
Oh,
Lusinger.
that school?
Yeah, Lusinger football team. So they're enlisting my support because they got this new field, shining, brand new, and they was kind of sharing with me some of the, let's say, the challenges they have in promoting their program. I did not know that they don't have access to the fields like they should, like some communities like Santa Monica, what have you, that there's this process or what have you that you got to go through to have the students whose parents pay taxes, right, for the schools to actually use the fields. So we just had a conversation on how we can work together and help them promote their program and what have you and get some cooperation or what have you. Not with the city. This is not really city stuff, right? But we're just kind of batting around some issues, and they got some other issues as well. But it's all about promoting the team and allowing these players, these athletes, because sports is really different than what it was when we were growing up. Because these kids are being recruited in high schools or what have you, and they can now use their name and their likeness for financial benefit that we didn't have that advantage when we were growing up. But unfortunately, they're not able to practice on the fields and have the same opportunities as some other schools have for whatever reason. I think some of it has some socioeconomic implications, in my opinion, because when disparities. Because when they mention some of the other schools that's a little more affluent, they don't have these problems. So I'm hoping to kind of work with them and see if there's a way that we can kind of get some.
That is restricting them?
It's Centinela. High school. And there's some other issues I won't necessarily go into or what have you, but the biggest problem is they don't have the access with equipment and things of that nature. Even with their booster program is not the way it should be because they don't have the buy-in that should be there or what have you. And it really puts these student athletes at a disadvantage, than other communities. So we'll continue to work with that. But on a happy note, I attended with Mayor Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. She convened a meeting, actually it was a whole conference with local mayors from throughout the state, mostly down south, the Midwest and the South. And we had a big, it was a breakfast at the Getty House and, talked about different, issues and stuff in their state or what have you. Thought that was very enlightening and actually learned a lot from some of the mayors throughout the nation. Also attended the Beautification Committee Holiday Home Contest. And that was pretty nice to see those homeowners who have decorated their homes and made it all festive for the community this past holiday season. So that was great. And it seemed like I had 10 more items here, but I can't seem to find them.
I tore them out.
You tore them out?
Yeah.
I guess that's all I have. Seemed like I attended something else, but it didn't make my notes, so I mean it doesn't count. So with that, I will close my public comments from the council. And we have one other item left on our agenda, which is item number 16, is a conference with labor negotiators. I'm going to ask the city attorney to give us a provision of the closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, for conference with labor negotiators, that meeting will be held under the Brown Act's provision 54957.6 of the Government Code. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, we have returned from closed session. I'm going to ask the city attorney to give the report of the closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the council was briefed on the status of labor negotiations, but no reportable action was taken this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so adjournment time. We're going to adjourn this meeting. I'm going to swing it over to Councilwoman Shirley Cuevas for the adjournment.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, we're going to adjourn this meeting tonight in the memory of Raymond Cordova. He's the chair of the South County Labor. Everyone knows Mr. Cordova, Ray, we call him. He's been around for longest. He certainly passed away last Sunday, in our prayers with his family. And we're going to adjourn in his memory, Raymond Cordova. And this meeting is adjourned. It's 9:21.